Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. I'm out here in the chicken run. Chickens have a few more days working on our compost before we put them back in the mobile coop for a while. They've done a great job. That pile was up to towards the top of that black pallet. They've spread it out wonderfully. So like this was leaves and hay and food waste and like our corn stalks, our tomato plants, the onion tops, the garlic tops, that's what this was. And so the winter and spring of the chickens being on this and scratching it and pecking through it and it composting has gotten it to this point. What I'd like to do is I'm just going to go back here and I'm going to loosen some of that there because they've kind of stopped digging down and I'd like them to scratch and mix some more. So if I dig in a little bit there, that's going to kind of encourage them to get back in there and start pecking through it and scratching through it some more so that they mix it for us better before we mound it back up to heat up again to break down further. So like when I got down in the pile, there we go. So this you can actually still see, the pieces of the leaves, the fall leaves that this was. So just getting them in there, those claws and those beaks are going to break this down to the smaller pieces and help it break down. So you can see just doing a little bit of stirring on the compost has gotten the chickens way more interested in that space. Get some digging again, get some turning it again, stirring it up. Those talons and those beaks breaking up the bigger pieces and getting us closer to something that we can put on the garden. Hello, I'm sitting next to the wagon of guilt, which is a little less guilty today. My neighbor took some of the tomatoes to her sister, which is wonderful. She was having a problem with a deer eating her plants, so she was hesitant to buy tomato plants, but just using some that were going to get thrown on the compost heap was fairly appealing. So what I'm doing today, one, I'm noticing I still have a few things over here. I've got some basil, which looks a little sad. The trays have water in them, and I'm noticing we may be growing some mosquito larvae. We're going to go ahead and dump that. This is some basil that my daughter's teacher gave her, and some sunflowers that were a school project. So those still need to find a home where they hopefully won't get eaten by something, because that would make us very sad. I'm just going to go ahead and dump those and not add to the mosquito population. What I am doing today is I'm starting some Roma tomato plants that I would like to put in after I harvest my cabbage. I want to see if I can get kind of like a later shot of determinate tomatoes. This is an experiment. I haven't done this before, but so is gardening. So I think this will work, and it's just going to be using space that something's done in anyway. So I think I'm just going to try 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got a pot here. A lot coming out of that. 6. We're going to do 6 tomato plants and just see what happens. We've got Ohio Earth Food. I don't know where in Ohio this is from. I planted my Tumbling Tom tomato plant in this, and the color and everything is really good. Let's see what that decides to do. There we go. Stay there. All right. Now, something I can't quite decide what to do with these guys. I feel like it's too late to put sweet potatoes in the ground, but I took, I don't know how many, but I took sweet potato plants off of this and have them planted. But look at that, we've got 1, 2, and then there's some more starting down here. This one, if I could get the ones on the top to root here, there's like 6 plants on the top. I think I need to get that like completely submersed in water. This one, I planted a ton from. The bottom's starting to get a little bit soft, but we've got a ton of roots and more plants started from. And then this is something that amazes me. This, I took sweet potatoes off of, and then I just put back in the water, just out of curiosity. It's still firm, like it's not getting mushy at all. So I was going to put these in compost, but I'm just curious, what should I do with them? Because I'm pretty much out of space in the garden. Should I just compost them? Should I experiment and just see how long they'll keep producing sweet potato slips? The first year that I planted sweet potatoes, I had like 2 left over right after I'd planted the spaces that I had dedicated to them. And I had a bag of soil laid flat that I had cut a rectangle out of and had tried to grow greens in it through the winter, like under a plastic tote, kind of like greenhouse style. It didn't quite work. I think I can make it work, but I have not had success yet. But I was like, that's just been sitting there. We'll just plop these in here. So I just put 2 sweet potato slips in that bag. It just had holes, like I poked holes through the bottom so it could drain. So the bag was just kind of acting as a container. And those sweet potatoes were actually the best sized sweet potatoes that I got that year. So maybe I should try that. I don't know. But it just seems like silly to throw all those out. But it's almost the end of June and they're kind of a longer season thing, and it is Western Pennsylvania where we could have frost. Usually it's in October, but it could be as early as September. So I don't know that there's really enough time to get those planted. But I can't quite throw them out yet. Does anybody else have the sickness? I have the sickness. All right, so a little bit on chicken compost, a little bit of tomato seed starting, a little bit of pondering the sweet potatoes. Hope you're having a good day.